Hi, I'm Helena, an IFSA delegate on this event. I'm here with Matthias Schwoerer. Could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, hi and welcome. My name is Matthias Schwoerer. I'm head of the International Forest Policy Division in the Ministry of Agriculture of Germany and responsible for more or less all international forest-related matters out there and combating illegal logging, fighting deforestation, and these things at all levels, international, pan-European, EU, and partly national.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I have a few questions prepared for you.
Right.
And the first one is, what is the ELM event about and how is it related to the ministerial conference?
So you mean the expert level meeting,
Yeah.
which takes place today and tomorrow here in the ministry? Well, the expert level meeting is a preparatory level meeting for any ministerial conference. In the Forest Europe process, we need to know that ministerial conferences take place only every 3 or 4 years. In the intersessional phase, we have a work program, exchanging knowledge and doing workshops to specific topics. But when we approach a ministerial conference, we need to prepare ministers for deciding on emerging important political decisions to be taken at a ministerial conference. Which is important because this whole process is guided by the ministers. It is an informal process, not a legally binding process. And this is why it is important that ministers from time to time come together and provide us with guidance for this whole process. And that's what we start today. We start negotiating 2 ministerial declarations or decisions to be submitted to ministers for their adoption and signature in October of this year.
Okay.
So this year, today we start these negotiations on prepared documents. So all signatories coming here, they come with these prepared documents. We collect their views, we try to solve issues, and then we will prepare for a second round in June, where we will hopefully then finalize these papers, because we have to submit them to ministers then.
Okay, so you're preparing the documents. And
well, the documents have been prepared actually over more than 12 months already, with preparatory technical work, then of course with text work, and then with informal discussions already with several people. and now we start, now they are out as draft documents, and now we are really negotiating word by word the whole text.
And how are you as a chairman getting ready for this kind of event and negotiation process?
Well, first of all, you have to be experienced enough to see what is important and what is less important, because the ultimate most important objective will be to finalize negotiations on the 2 documents, so to get a first reading ready from the beginning to the end. So you have to prepare who is coming, what are their interests. You have to be the one with the best knowledge of the paper, because if complaints come or questions, you need to judge whether it's important or not, or in case there are diverging views, you as a chair also are supposed to offer maybe compromise text or to find solutions, because it's in your responsibility that this meeting comes to a success at the very end. At least finalize the first reading. So simply prepare in the best possible way. Of course, also logistically, here we have a very good secretariat preparing all these things. Okay, but as a chair, we just this morning had last preparatory meeting. As a chair, you also have to see the whole procedure and know who is doing what and who is offering what and who can support what at what time.
So you have to be the one most aware of all the details.
Yeah. So you're managing this whole process more or less. Yeah. So I must say, you also have in these processes, you normally also have a co-chair, which in this case will most likely be from Sweden. So you also have to talk to your co-chair, so that in this case she will be able to take over the one or other point and also share with you some thoughts. Because normally in international processes there's not only one chair, it's always 2 co-chairs chairing such meetings.
And what role does Germany play at European forestry policy, and especially at Forest Europe?
Well, Germany is, of course, one of the big member states in the European Union and one very quite important also forest country, and has always been very active in forest policy, in international forest policy. In this role, we also took over this responsibility of being the chair country for 4 years for this Forest Europe process. So our role is actually twofold. The one is the chairing role, which in person I will do today. And the other thing, the other responsibility is also representing our national interests, which is represented by a colleague of mine who has to judge upon all these substance issues from a national perspective. And these things need to go together quite smoothly. Of course, we cannot, in the public, compete with one another, but these are the two, principally, two roles which we have to play. But the most important one is that we are chairing this process, that we are responsible for the next ministerial conference, for the success of this conference, which will be chaired by our minister, by the German responsible minister. And that this whole process ends with a success. So 2 ministerial decisions and a good discussion on emerging issues, so that the next signatory country taking over this role can take this over on a very good basis. No?
And you said what outcomes you expect from the entire process during the 4 years of Germany being in the chair, and what do you hope for as an outcome from this expert level meeting?
This expert level meeting explicitly is about starting, as I said earlier, about starting negotiations on these 2 documents, and what I expect is that we finalize the first reading. We need to have clarity from all participants on their thinking about these documents, whether there are still principal troubles with it, whether there are principal amendments brought forward, or anything which can make us problems for the next months. And then we have a clear picture. And with this clear picture, we can then properly prepare a consolidated second version, which we then expect to be adopted, or finalized at least, and then adopted by the second and next expert level meeting in June.
Okay.
That's how it works. No? You go step by step. And at this conference, we do the first step in preparing the ministerial conference.
That's interesting. No? And how do you see the role of youth in shaping the future of forestry, and what initiatives does Germany support to engage youth professionals in the field?
Well, colleagues from IFSA keep asking me this question, and I keep answering that, of course, it's up to the youth to constantly and everywhere ask for being part of the game. So there are various options where you can, how you can do this. You can be active in national delegations, just approach your responsible ministry. You can be active through IFSA, as you are doing it at the moment. And of course, you can also approach countries as potential donor countries to support your work. Because as we all know, I mean, you don't have the money to do this, to travel, to spend money on these things. And having said this, I mean, Germany, we have been doing this for many years already. We have been supporting IFSA over more than 20 years already, from time to time, travels abroad. We just supported this celebratory event in Brandenburg last year. We are also financially supporting the major group Youth under the United Nations Forum on Forests work, through which the youth group can raise their voice. We are also supporting projects of IFSA with UFRO and other organizations. So there are several ways how to support the international work of IFSA. But of course, this is the international work, and nationally, I mean, as I said, you have to approach every single national responsible ministry. And my ministry in Germany is specifically at the moment under this government putting quite a focus even on practitioners and on the youth, because of this climate perspective of the future, all these future challenges we are having, so to also hear the voice of the youth. We just convened a special platform for the youth on agriculture in this ministry. We also invited the youth to contribute to our forest strategy, national forest strategy. So this is a constant question which we have in the ministry, how to involve youth. So the question is then whom to invite, because youth is by nature getting older, and then it's not a constant force. But these are the ways how you can do this. And on the opposite side, of course, you need to be aware of positions and needs and demands of other groups. Because from a governmental perspective, you need to be aware that we always have to look at all positions. I mean, at UNFF, for example, we have a major group of women, a major group of youth, a major group of the private sector, a major group of indigenous people, a major group of whatever, some 6 or 7 or so of them. So if every group just brings forward their or its position, we then as government representatives have 6 positions. And this is not very helpful because first of all, we can hardly read everything, hundreds and hundreds of pages. And secondly, when agreeing on something or developing agreed positions in the international community, of course, you always have to keep the balance and compromise between things and find one decision on something, not 6. That's why I always, we had attempts like this where also major groups or also the youth group came together. Actually, we also financed this through the major group youth, that you could convene your own workshops so that you could discuss with other major groups what is at stake. So non-governmental positions, but from various angles.
Yeah.
And I think it's also good for the youth to learn what the angle of the private sector is, what the angle of the women's group is, what the actor of the indigenous group is, simply to learn about all the angles, not only about your own one.
It's great to hear that even though there are loads of major groups with various interests, you manage to help us by funding travel costs and by giving access to conferences such like this one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What was the question? Excuse
that
me?
was not a question, that was just that we're happy that you support us in various ways.
You just need to approach, well, we are doing it anyway already, but of course you also need to approach ministries in other countries. Sometimes they not have simply not a budget line to do this, so you have to start thinking of ways how to do it. It's always a question how to make it possible, and not just ask for money.
Yeah. So interesting to hear your perspective. I look forward even more to the conference now. And thank you for your time.
That was it. Okay, thank you. See you next time. Yeah, okay.
Thanks.